we shall continue our discussion on recovery from failure, and we have discussed earlier that there are two things which are very important for understanding the concept of recovery, and that is the issue of atomicity of a particular job and the consistency of a job, and the amount of commitment that has been given for a particular job in terms of the users. For example, if we give a printed document, that is a firm commitment of that job having been done. So we have to take into account these issues when we discuss how to recover from failure. We have also mentioned that to recover from any failure, we need to take not only action after failure, we need to take some action during the normal processing, so that we can utilize this information properly after failure to take care of our commitments, the consistency and the atomicity of a particular job. Each job, atomic job of a database operation is defined as a transaction. A transaction is a program unit that reads the required data items only once and writes them only once. A transaction is also required to maintain the database consistency. So transaction is the atomic unit, consistent atomic unit of a job, and without any loss of generality, it will read a required data item only once and write it only once. To recover from various types of failure during different portions of a particular job or a particular transaction, we define the state diagram or the different states of a transaction. The active state, in which a transaction starts and before completion of its last statement, is said to be active. It is said to be partially commitment after the execution of its last statement, but prior to the full commitment. So what is full commitment? Full commitment is such that either all the data which has to be written back has already been written back into the disk, into the secondary storage, or some other information has been maintained, so that in case of a failure after partial commitment, the data can still be recovered from the disk. Otherwise, when it is active or after partial commitment, it may fail, and after it fails, a job is either killed for restart, therefore a job is said to be aborted, or a transaction is said to be aborted. Now we will see how we maintain information during normal processing, so that after failure we can recover to some extent. One of the most widely used methods of recovery is called log based recovery. In log based recovery, each and every transaction which performs a particular job writes on to the log, which is called logging information. What has been performed by this job is written into the log. For every transaction, or for the whole set of transactions which are executing at a particular place, we have what is called a transaction log. A transaction log is a file which is existing in the secondary storage, into which data is written corresponding to each and every transaction. The details of the work performed by the transaction is written onto the log. Now let us see what sort of information we have to write onto the log. For that, let us take an example of a transaction. Let this be a transaction. Read the variable disk variable A to the memory variable A1, add 500 to it and write it back to the disk variable A. B, subtract 500 from it and write it back. This is the money transfer transaction. Now, what we write onto the log is the following. We keep onto the log what data has been modified. The modification of the data after the write operation, that is, if you have read a particular piece of data or you want to write a particular piece of information, then you write down what was the old value and what was the new value which is written. You need not keep track of each and every operation that is done. Read was done, then A was added to 500, then write A was done, then B was added to 50, then this was done, then this was done. Each and every step need not be written down. What we need to remember for this transaction is that the transaction got started at a particular point of time. The transaction modified the value of A from its original value, say 1000 to 1500. The transaction modified the value of B, say 2000 to 1500, and the transaction finished. So these are the only little amount, this is the only information that we need to keep in the log. So in a log, we keep information regarding the state of a transaction. The first is whether the transaction has started. As soon as the transaction starts, we write down TI starts, and this is written on. For the time being, let us assume that whenever a data is written onto the log, that data is immediately written back from the memory to the disk. So a log variable data is written directly to the disk, whereas a data like this need not be written into the disk, it will be in the buffer area and it will be output according to the replacement policy. But if it is a log data, for example, in the log I will say write down TI starts, say T1 starts, then T1 starts will have to be immediately written onto the disk. When T1 is fully over and all the data has been written back, we will write down T1 commits. In between, we will write down, for a transaction, we will write down TI, the data name, say X, the old value and the new value. So for any transaction, in the transaction log, we will have data corresponding, we will write down when the transaction starts, what data is modified. This data modification corresponds to the write statements. That this was the old value, this is the new value. We need not bother about read statements. When there is a read statement, we need not bother. Whenever there is a write statement and we are supposed to write back into the disk, we will see what was the old value of the data before writing down, that is after when you read it, and the new value after you wrote it. So a log will consist of a series of TI starts with TI X, old value, new value, and a TI commit. So this is how data will be there in a log. For example, corresponding to this, at some point of time in the log you will have T starts. Let us assume initially A is 1000 and B is 2000. Then you will have T A 1000, 1500, T B 2000, 1500, and T commits. For this transaction, this is the only sort of information you can have, and obviously they will be occurring in this sequence because this is the sequence in which it is being executed in this program. Now due to failure, you may have this fully for a particular transaction or you may have it partly. You may not have the full thing there in your log. So now it depends on how much you have in your log is what you will do during recovery will be determined by how much you have in your log. That is, when you write TA 1000 for 1500, it means that the data 1000 was modified and 1500 was written. So if you have only up to here, then you have to do something. If you have up to here, you do something. If you have up to here, you do something else. Now, there are various schemes of recovery. The schemes of recovery will study the log file and then try to make sure that the database is brought to a consistent state and will report to you that these jobs will have to be rerun again and these jobs need not be rerun. So at the beginning of the day, you have got a consistent database, and for all the operations you do throughout the day, you maintain the whole log. And if there is no problem, then this log actually tells you what jobs have started and what were jobs completed, and for each of these jobs, what was the updation that took place into the memory, took place in the disk. So that even if you had only the previous day's information and the log, you could just execute the log on the database and you would be able to modify the database to bring it to a state which would be the state which after doing all the operations of the current day. We will study two types of database modification which are normally prevalent, and because of these two types of database modification, the recovery will be slightly different. The first type of database modification or the database updation is this. It defers execution of all write operations till the transaction partially commits. A transaction is executing. The write operations which are actually supposed to write them onto the memory, and then we have got two types of variables. If you see A and B, we have got two types of variables. A transaction, whenever it does any operation like this, it does it only on the memory variables. So it reads the disk variable onto the memory and does it on the memory variables. And the write operation writes back the memory variable back to the disk variable. Now in deferred database modification, this write is pushed till the end. You can push this write since there is only one write. Since there is only one write, it does not matter whether I execute this write here or I execute this write here. Since there is only one read for A and one write for A, the read will obviously be after the write, before the write. If the read, there is no sense in having a database, in having a transaction in which you have the read after the write, because you already know the value which you are going to write. So there is no use of reading that data again. Therefore, the read will be followed by the write. The read will always precede the write. And in deferred database modification, you can rewrite this query by pushing the write back down. So all write operations are actually done or deferred or moved right at the end of database query of a transaction. That is, the effective execution of a write statement takes place only after the transaction partially commits. This actually gives you a lot of safety in certain sense. It says that during execution of a transaction, you are not writing this onto the database. Therefore, buffering will not be able to write back this data. So, if before it is partially committed, a transaction fails, you just have to re-execute that transaction. You need not bother about taking care of the fact that I have already made the database inconsistent due to some reason. If I do not write anything onto the database till I have finished my full execution, then if there is a crash in between, there is a crash before partial commitment, then all I need to do is just run that transaction again, because it has not modified the database at all. So that is the interesting and good thing about a deferred database modification technique. So a deferred database modification technique defers the execution of all write operations till the transaction partially commits, and obviously it maintains a log of database modifications, and it uses the concept or a function called the redo function in case of a failure. We will now see in details each of these steps. Let us see the following two transactions. This is the similar to the old transaction which we wrote down. I am omitting read a comma a1. Let us assume that this read a means that a disk variable is read onto the memory variable. So I have just overlapped it by writing the same variable name, and a is equal to a minus 10, but it must be remembered that these operations are on memory variables, and the read and write operation modify the memory variables only and ask them to write it back to the disk variables. Without loss of generality, this convention is quite fine, provided we remember that a read operation reads from a disk variable to a memory variable, and a write operation writes to a memory variable, writes a memory variable into a disk variable, and all these operations are actually operations on memory variables. So this is a money transfer routine, and this is a withdrawal routine. Both are consistent routines on their own. So a log can be, now let us see deferred database modification. In deferred database modification, we need not remember what is the old value, because if any transaction is spoiled before, is aborted or failed before partial commitment, then we are not afraid of the fact that the database has become inconsistent, because nothing has been written into it. And after partial commitment, we are sure that only the new things have to be written, all the execution is over. So we are not interested in what value replaced what was the original value, we are only bothered about what is the new value. So here initially let us say A is 900 and B is 500, then we will have T0 starts, T0 makes A from 900 to 890, and we will remember only 890. This is due to this write. Then we will read B, B plus 10, write B. Due to this, T0 is B 510, it was 500, it becomes 510, and after it reaches the committed state, we say it commits. And for C, we will, oh sorry, I have missed out T1 starts. We will have T1 starts here. We will have T1 starts, T1 maybe makes it from 2000 to 1900, and T1 commits. So when do we say that a transaction commits in deferred database modification, and when do we write on this? Whenever a transaction starts, we will write down T0 starts into the log, and whenever we write down T0 starts into the log, it must be immediately written onto the disk. This is what we will assume for the time being. Buffering of log is something which we will discuss a bit later on. For the time being, we will not assume buffering of log. We will study it based on the fact that the log is directly written onto the disk. Whenever this write statement is executed, we will defer it till the end of the execution. So when all these things become true and this partially commits, the transaction partially commits, then the write statements will be executed. Prior to executing the write statements, we will write down these two things into the disk. That is, into the log we will write down T0A 890, T0B 510 and then do these two write operations. These two values will be written after partial commitment. And after all the write operations have been done and all the log values corresponding to the transaction have been written and put into the disk, only then will the statement T0 commits be written onto the disk. Similarly, for T1, as soon as this one starts, T1 will be written, starts will be written onto the log. After the write statement and after partial commitment, T1C 1900 will be written onto the log and then the write statement will be executed. And after the write statement is executed and all the log values are actually written onto the disk, T1 commits will be written onto the disk. This is the process of writing out a log for a deferred database modification.
Before starting, because you can do only one operation at a time.
Yeah, we can do one operation at a time. So just before it starts, before the first statement starts, T1 starts can be written. There is no problem in writing. T1 starts before the transaction starts. Just before the transaction starts. Now what can happen? Suppose this whole thing is written onto the log. This whole thing is written onto the log and after this is written onto the log, the system crashes. So how do we recover from this crash? We recover by the use of the redo function Ti. We scan the log to see those functions which have got both start and commit. Those transactions which have got both start and commit will be redone. The function redo just simply does this, it writes onto the disk these values. A is made 890, B is made 510 and that is over. It will see for T1 start and commit is there, it will write 1900 onto the disk. So if we just see those transactions for which start and commit is there and write down their values onto the disk, then we are through. We have recovered from the failure. Even if anything else has happened in between, we will get the database to a state which is supposed to have been if these two were fully executed. Now we can have various situations of the log. If a log may be like this, start is there, commit is not there. If start is there, commit is not there, then for this transaction we are sure that this transaction is not fully over, its data is not written onto the disk, because if it was written onto the disk, commitment would be there. So we will redo this, we will restart this transaction, we will not redo this transaction. On the other hand, in this situation, we have got T0 starts and T0 commits. For T1 we have starts and not commits. So this means in deferred database modification, this one has fully executed, so we will write 890 and 510 into the disk. Whatever be the old value, maybe 890 is there, it does not matter, we will write back 890. And for this one, we know that due to deferred database modification, this operation is performed. It may have reached partial committed state, but it did not commit. That means it did not write down the actual value onto the disk. So since it did not write down the actual value onto the disk, and we do not know whether more or other values would have been written onto the disk, we simply say this transaction will have to be re-executed. So this is the idea of deferred database modification. What may happen is that during the process of recovery, crash may occur. That is, you are in this situation, you want to recover this one, and while you are doing this one, crash occurs. Then what do? You again start this one and do. This is an idempotent relation. You do it 500 times, the same thing will happen. So, even if crash occurs during recovery, there is no problem, we will just redo it again. So, I repeat what deferred database modification does. It defers the execution of all write operations till transaction partially commits. It maintains the log of database modification and uses the redo function in case of failure. And what it does here? All the write operations are done at the end. So, after the function, whenever this write is faced, it may write it into the log, there is no problem. It may or may not write it into the log. After it partially commit, during the execution of a write statement, it will not write it into the database, but it may just write it into the log. Now, this may be there right at the end. So, we may actually effectively assume in a deferred database modification that after all of them are executed logically, then the write statements effectively take place, that is, they are actually written onto the disk. And only when they are fully written onto the disk and all the log values are written, do we do the fully committed state. On the basis of this idea, we can recover from the log from those transactions which have got start and commit, and those which have got start and no commit, we say you re-execute this transaction. During recovery? No. During recovery, you just write from here onto the, you may write directly onto the disk, you may write these values directly onto the disk, or you may do any buffering, it does not matter. But if a crash occurs, you start from here and do it again. If any crash occurs during recovery, you start the process of recovery again.
During recovery, if you have to update a variable A in the memory, that means you have to...
During recovery, you don't update anything into the memory. You have to just write A890 value into the variable A in the disk.
So if that block is not there in the main memory, it has to be read from the disk, got there, updated and written back to the main disk.
This operation T0A890 which is done. Now, normally let us assume for the time being that we write it straight into the disk. When we do a buffering of log, that is the log itself may partially be in the memory, it is then such problems will arise. Such problems will not arise when the log is fully in the disk and the data is in the disk. This means that write this value into the disk. So to write this value into the disk, you may read it from the memory, disk to the memory, write it in the memory and put it back to the disk. In between this, if there is a failure anywhere, then do it again. Do it again till you have done all of, from start to commit, you have finished all of them. If you have not, from start to commit, if you have done only 3 or 4 of them, then again start from start to commit and do it. That is the safe way of doing recovery. Recovery means full recovery or nothing. The second alternative from deferred database modification is called immediate database modification. Especially for long run transactions, immediate database modification is a must. That is, it's a long run transaction when you must produce output and you must show something in between. Then immediate database modification becomes necessary. So immediate database modification allows database modifications to be output to the database while the transaction is still in active state or non-committed modification is allowed. That is, whenever you have a write operation, you really execute that write operation. It is not that you just write it into the log and defer it till the transaction partially commits. You actually write it into the disk. Now, if you actually write it into the disk and during an active state and the transaction fails midway, then you are in trouble, because for this transaction which has failed midway in an active state, you have written some things in an intermediate fashion. Therefore, for this sort of a transaction, you cannot have situations in which you will write down only the current value. You will have to write down both the old value as well as the new value. So, in a transaction like this, what you do is you write Ti starts, you write T0A 900 has been converted to 890, T0B 500 has been made 510, and T0 commits. It commits after partial commitment, all the logs have been written, and only then it commits. All the values, the write operations have been performed and the logs have been written, it actually commits. Similarly here, and we can reach various stages of, we can have a situation like this. We have seen it has got start and commit, and what we do is we write onto the log these values as we did before by the redo function. But and if we reach both of them, then here again by the redo function we write 890 in A, 510 in B and 1900 in C. But if we reach a situation like this and it is an immediate database modification, then we know that for this transaction we have made 900 into 890, but this transaction stopped midway and we will have to restart this transaction from the beginning. So what we have to do is we have to do an undo operation. We will have to go backwards and modify 890 to 900. So for those in an immediate modification technique, we have got two functions. The redo is the standard function which we used in the deferred modification technique. A redo is done for those transactions which have both Ti start and Ti commit. For them the new values are written into the disk. For those which have got Ti start and no Ti commit, before restarting them we have to do an undo Ti, and undo Ti writes onto the disk all the old values. So using the undo and the redo operation we can recover from the immediate database modification if the technique for database updation is immediate database modification. So these are the two basic techniques for recovery using a log based protocol. In a log based mechanism you write things onto the log and you maintain sufficient information during processing so that when you have to recover you can use the log to recover from the failure. Now the log may become too big. For a whole day the log may be so huge, and every time power fails you will start the operations of the whole day. You can imagine what will happen in a railway reservation system. One power fail and you start doing all, because most of them are correct. In a situation like this, if these two are done and their records are actually written onto the disk, there is no point doing it again and again and again. So for this we will have some mechanism called checkpointing, by which we will remember that we have actually made the database consistent, or we will throw away portions of the log which is not required. And we have to tackle the problem that the log itself may be, no, the log will not be inconsistent, it is just that the log may be buffered. Every time we have this said here, every time you have to write into the log, you might as well go and write fully into the disk. But the log may be buffered in the sense that in order to save time, you only do block operations. When a log is fully written, only then you write the log into the disk. Therefore, for buffering of a log, the protocol for recovery and the protocol for doing some of these operations will be slightly more complex, and it will become even more complex when there is concurrency. So we will study all of them in details in the subsequent classes.